American Fork Podcast, where a group of friends get together once a week and record a podcast. We all grew up together in a small town called American Fork. Growing up there has made us forked. So our goal tonight, or today, is to fork you, the listener. Is that right, guys?
So that you will be forked.
I'm completely forked by the end of this.
American forked.
And the buttery, super sexy voice across from me is Phil. Hello, Phil.
All this fork talking has made me hungry over the past several months.
Yeah, hungry.
Hello.
That's what it meant.
Would you
Hi,
like
Phil.
a tortilla chip?
Nope. I'm supposed to be talking without gross saliva sounds right now.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, the person consuming, very unprofessionally, a tortilla chip to my right is Jacob.
These are really salty. They're very delicious.
I hate these ones.
You don't like
But they're the
Santitas
only ones that the BYU Creamery carries for some reason.
Oh. And it's right there
Yeah.
in the vicinity of the
state I live
city
in.
that you may reside in.
Yeah. I was driving by there on my way up to Salt Lake where I was visiting someone who was in the same state as me.
You're being very elusive.
Hey guys, this is Jake.
Hi, Jake. How are you doing?
Good.
That's good.
Good.
Thanks for the really long response.
You're welcome.
Yeah. You want to give us some housekeeping? Housekeeping?
Housekeeping? Like
You want me? You want me to tell your website?
AmericanFork.com is the website. You can listen to the podcast there, or you can listen on any of the podcatchers. But you'll probably already know that because you're listening, so I don't need to say it.
I ran into someone. Sorry to interrupt, but you just reminded me of something. I ran into a listener that is. We were together, and they're like, "I listened," and I'm like, "Did you see the most recent episode?" He pulls his phone out, and guess what podcatcher he uses?
What?
Pocket Cast.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I thought that Pocket Cast was just a joke. I didn't think that was a real thing. Apparently, there's really people that use it. So
Oh, wow.
Jeff,
shout out to Pocket Cast.
that's what I use.
Jake uses that?
Uh-huh.
I just use Apple because
Yeah.
it's like one less thing to download.
I like Pocket Casts because it has the ability to, from the notification, say I want to archive, listen now, listen next, or mark as read.
Oh,
or
really?
Listen to. So
That's cool.
I don't have to go into the app and decide. Anyway,
That's so awesome.
I subscribe to too many shows, so whatever can make it easier is good for me.
Sweet. Well, I interrupted your housekeeping. Did you have more housekeeping?
Yeah, we can. We would love to have somebody call in and tell us how awesome we are. We can call in or leave us a text at 385-DAD-0-MUG.
Or if you think we're imbeciles, we would equally love it if you called in and told us that.
And probably like it more, actually.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Beagle. So give us a call.
Yeah, Beagle, call us.
I dare you.
And also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, where we post the latest episodes as soon as they're released. And so if your podcatcher does not notify you, then the socials will.
It is
Yeah.
so social.
And along the website, I actually updated something on the website today. It's on the About page. If you scroll down, you will see a list of bios from each of us podcatchers on there.
No.
And it's totally fun. And I didn't even ask any of the people listed on here permission or ask them.
You're right, you didn't.
Ask what they wanted
it's
to
a
do.
surprise to all of us.
So,
Did you want like some kind of live reaction here?
so
Because
you better get on there quick before I'm told to take it down.
oh gosh, you use that picture.
So,
That's great.
By the way, I have 3 children, not 4.
Oh, do you? I was going back and forth on that. I was like, wait, there's a 4th one, right? Because I swear you had a baby like 2 years ago, but
That was
I
me.
think that was Mike
6
and
years
Jeff.
ago.
Yeah, it was 6 years.
She was the 3rd one.
I think it's because you haven't been snipped yet. I keep thinking that you are going to have another
Right.
baby.
Yeah, Trent calls me all the time, and he's like, so how's the new baby going?
Yeah, it's going to happen any moment now. Anyway,
Oh my gosh, your pictures are ridiculous.
Trent is Channing Tatum.
Oh my gosh. All right, well,
Arnold
listener,
Schwarzenegger.
go on and look at the website. It's not like it's pretty funny.
Yeah, listen on the socials and call us, leave us a voicemail. Just communicate with us. You can send us an email at info@americanfork.com and we'll respond. We're really getting to the point where we want to interact with our listeners.
Yeah, it'd be very fun, and we probably will be putting some pictures on the socials as well soon of our new project coming up.
Yes.
which is building a new studio for us to record in instead of invading Phil's house every single week.
We'll invade Trent's garage.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's going to be awesome. That's my theory.
And we're also
if it happens,
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Well, we've already bought furniture for it, so I hope it does.
It's like a framed in box. It's not even framed all the way, and we have a couch. That's
Yeah.
great.
But one thing that we would love to ask is for, we've been asking for people to donate to the Patreon, which I know is a big ask. Obviously, with us building a studio, that would come in handy. But the one thing that we're really trying to focus on is getting the show out there. So if you like an episode, then please share it with somebody that you think would enjoy it, or someone that you think it would trigger and bring up, conversation, discussion with you. But we're really trying to get as many people to listen to the show as possible.
yeah. And the best way, going back to payment, the best way to get our attention is to give us some Patreon dough and say, I'm giving you this dough because of this episode or because of this kind of content you guys do. If we're doing if you like us to talk about coronavirus or space aliens or anything you like, we don't know what you like. We can't read your mind, which is like something about wives or something that Jeff was saying. But
Yeah, we can't read people's minds. So contact us and let us know what you think and what you love and what you hate and who you love and who you hate, and just reach out to us. I think it'd be really good to start a back and forth with all our listeners.
yeah.
So,
And for those of you who have reached out, thanks. You're the best.
all right, on to micro news. That's the American Fork news, the very small town of American Fork. I don't know if you guys saw this, but
I'm excited about whatever it is you have to show, because
so
I don't know what's going on.
Exciting. An attempt to highlight something positive happened in the community turned into a minor controversy for the American Fork Police Department. On Friday, American Fork Police Department officer was out patrolling when he saw a group standing outside with American flags, and in an effort to show support for the troops, the officer took a selfie with the group and posted it to the department's social media page, the Facebook. Mm-hmm. These awesome individuals were out today and some yesterday waving the American flags at Robinson Park for those service members that were lost. That's what the post read. So, however, the officer didn't notice that one of the people in the photo was holding up a traditional OK hand sign, which in recent years has been appropriated by some white supremacists.
Oh, maybe I saw this. I thought it was like a gang sign.
No.
Was it like a backwards okay?
It's an OK sign, which I don't... Yeah, it's a backwards OK sign, like this. Because
it wasn't like this.
Visuals are... No, it's got a picture right here.
So for you guys, Jeff is facing his palm toward me, but I'm facing my palm the other way.
Yeah.
Is that a gang sign?
No, apparently it's for like white supremacists something or other. I don't know. I mean, this article calls it the OK hand sign. They didn't call it the white supremacist hand sign. But the post was deleted soon after, and screenshots of it were shared on various groups. The Anti-Defamation League has declared this sign as a hate symbol. In some instances, it admits that the use of the OK symbol is, in most contexts, is entirely unconscious and harmless.
Wait, so who was getting after him?
I think it was this American Defamation League.
Oh, I thought you were just saying that they weren't getting after him.
No, they were. They removed the post and apologized and all that stuff because somebody did an OK symbol, which I think is just interesting, to say the least.
Well, yeah, I'm just, while you're talking, I'm, Googling gang signs, because I swear that was, a thing.
No.
So what comes up is sarcastic approval.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
But it says the man flashing the OK symbol was also wearing a hat and the logo of the Proud Boys.
Oh, okay.
which
Proud
has been
Boys.
declared as a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center, and ADL calls them many big words that are really rude, like misogynistic, Islamophobic, transphobic, and anti-immigration. So I don't know if that was intended to be bad, but apparently it was bad enough to have the American Fork Police Department remove the post
Oh, really? They took it down?
and apologized because
wow.
they didn't realize that that's what it was. So
Weird.
it is very weird.
So Jake had to step aside for a bishop's interview, and he's back. We're just talking about the American Fork Police Department getting in trouble for flashing gang signs.
I was first thing when I read this article, first thing I thought was, dang, American Fork really tries really hard to do something that gets them in the news, something positive, and then you got someone that flashes a white supremacy sign or whatever.
Yeah.
And we were just talking, and apparently it's just like, okay.
Just the AOK sign. Yeah.
Yep, there
like
it
a
is.
sarcastic, okay.
In all of its glory. It's a terrible, terrible sign.
But now it's white supremacy. Okay.
Well, if that was if it was like a BLM protest and someone was doing the AOK sign, would it have been a different thing?
Well, they have a different sign.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
no, I'm
two
saying
middle fingers.
Same sign.
It's two pinkies touched together and the thumbs touching the nose.
And then you have to say tickle, tickle, cut the pickle, tickle, tickle. Have you ever
tickle, tickle, cut.
cut the pickle, tickle, tickle? Never mind. This can be edited, right? Okay.
I think it just goes straight, like it's live, right to people's ears.
Yeah.
There's
Right
nothing
to
you
their
can
ear
do
hole.
now.
I'm
Yep.
sorry, then, listener.
We are on the air.
Okay. All right, on to Utah news. This is a little bit not the coolest news ever, but I want to know what you guys think. So Utah State Fair started this week. Did you guys know that?
I didn't.
Do you ever go to the Utah State Fair?
I have been once.
They're still doing the state fair.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't it up in like pretty much Idaho?
No, it's just in Salt Lake.
Oh, is it?
It's like western Salt Lake area.
Yeah,
I
it's like
think the last time I went, it was like way up there.
no. Every time it's at the fairgrounds.
Oh,
which
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't it like up by Frankfurt?
Nope. That's not a place.
Where's the place that Lagoon's at?
Germany? Yeah, it's in Germany.
Farmington. No.
Oh.
No, it's basically
like
just west of downtown.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's still a lot of homeless people are hanging out by the fairgrounds.
No, I swear there's fairgrounds
Yeah, there's lots of fairgrounds up there.
further north, and that's where I went. Yeah, there's a bunch all the way up I-15.
Yeah.
Well, that's
No one's disagreeing with that, but
well,
the Utah
that's the
State
one I
Fair,
went to.
the Utah State Fair is not there. You're
Cache
probably
County Fairgrounds.
yeah, the Golden Spike, right?
Something.
That makes sense that would be in Cache County.
Yeah.
Well,
like
that's
almost
where the
Idaho.
fair is. That's the only fair that matters.
Nope.
Yeah, I brought this up so that we could dispute whether the fair exists or not. That's why
I thought it
brought
didn't.
up. And not only if it exists, but where it exists. That's really cool to talk about.
Let's dive
but, like,
deep into that.
Jeff's scowl was piercing when he said that. It was just like devastating.
But apparently Phil's never been there, or at least he went to the wrong one. You went to the off-brand one that was 6 weeks after the real one. But Jake, you have gone, or have you been there lately?
I think I may have been to the Utah State Fair once in my life.
Oh my gosh, I need to take you guys.
Really?
Yes, it's awesome.
I would actually love to go and look at like big vegetables and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And pretty.
Isn't that why you go?
Pretty roosters.
And
Yeah.
big pigs and
big old
stuff.
cocks and
We've raised the first 6,000-pound pig.
yeah. Those the
tractor
biggest
pulls
animal
and all
things, those are sad.
Is that
actually.
is what I'm saying relevant? They still do all
Yeah,
that
that's a
stuff at
thing.
fairs.
That's
yeah.
a thing.
I've actually spent more time at the Ohio State Fair than I did in all of my time
Oh, right.
at Utah State Fair.
Because you were a carny.
I was a fairy, yes.
Oh, that's right. You were a fairy. I don't know if we can say that anymore.
Yeah,
I was a
actually,
fairy.
that's like doing an OK sign.
So my next question is, what's your favorite part about the fair? But apparently nothing, because you guys have never been.
Lemonade?
The big
That's a good
pigs.
answer.
The
giant pigs.
food in
Yeah.
general,
Okay.
the vendor.
Yeah.
items that you ingest in your body,
I would believe you if that was your answer.
consume.
I still remember looking at that pig, and it was just like completely round, like when you looked at it straight on. And I remember feeling
with
so
legs.
bad for that animal that they probably like force-fed bacon grease to.
Ugh.
And at the same time, I was like, I bet that pig's so delicious.
I see humans like that sometimes.
Oh, really? Like,
Not that they're delicious, but like, I'll bet you they've been force fed, like super duper fat people.
you don't ever wonder what they taste like?
The humans?
The people that are overweight.
Like, you ever watch those shows where
Wait, you serious?
they
think he's
they
serious.
they cut like the people that are like 800 pounds?
Yeah.
And they go have surgery to remove like
Chairs.
half a person off of their back. That's like
Yeah.
some weird growth. It's really sad. But they like pull it off, and it's like 120 pounds, and like 3 doctors are like struggling to carry it over to the other thing. And they just
Keep
like
going.
throw that away.
You.
And keep going.
What's the next sentence that's coming out of your mouth?
Didn't you wonder what it like? Maybe you should cook that up.
No,
Nope. I can
cross my
truly
mind.
say the answer to that's no.
Didn't-
You
crossed my
guys say
mind.
that because you're spoiled, but one day when there's no food and you're like the Donner Party,
You know, that's kind of interesting. I bet you I know why Phil.
Kevin Spacey may have thought that. But
yeah.
no.
Kevin
I think I
Spacey.
know why Phil thinks that, and that's going to be part of the main topic for tonight. So we'll save it.
Listen,
Okay.
I'm totally not for killing a person to eat them
But if
or
you're
just-
surgically removing half of
or
them,
eating a dead person. But if a person had to have a part of them removed and it's just going to go in the garbage, can it feed something?
insert cricket sound
Oh.
here.
Yeah, maggots.
Maggots? You just leave it
Maybe
out?
pigs.
Ugh.
I don't know. That person spent a lot of effort on that, growing that
No effort at all.
growth. Oh, it's sad.
All right,
We agree
so
on
But we keep
here's
watching
the-
it.
Here's the thing: I told you guys we weren't going to talk about this. I'm trying to just pretend like that last 1 minute didn't happen, or whatever, however long it is. I teased you guys earlier when I said we're not going to talk about Joe Biden, but here's the national news.
All right.
And my commentary was Joe Biden's moved the country one step closer to dictatorship. And you don't know what's happened at all, Phil, or partially.
I'm really scared right now.
Okay.
What did he do?
Well, I just have part of this. It's funny. From the time I saved this article, it was actually just before his speech, and then his speech happened today, which I know it's going to be in the past for everyone listening here, but this is kind of breaking news to us sitting at the table. But Biden's signing an executive order to require vaccinations of employees to the executive branch and contractors who do business with the federal government, with no option to test out. That covers several million more workers. Since
Test
this-
out meaning
Did you
like
say
test for
contracted too?
contractors. Yeah. So like there's a lot of people that work for the US government that aren't government employees, but they're contract companies.
I missed that one. That's a big one.
Yeah. But since he had his speech, he also added into there that every private company with over 100 employees have to get vaccinated.
So it's just an executive order, though.
Yeah. But here's my main concern about it personally is that somebody has the kahunas to step up and say that.
Yeah, I wonder, because Biden is famous actually for saying, I think it was in the debates, because Trump was like, I executive ordered this and blah, blah, blah. And Biden was like, executive orders are largely symbolic. They're
Right.
dumb,
Yeah.
whatever. So which is it? Does it actually mean anything, or does it?
Well, for us in the state of Utah, anyone that's listening not in Utah, listen up and start moving here. We already have laws put in place that states basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, and Bolter would probably freak out right now, but basically it says if an executive order or anything comes down from the federal government is deemed unconstitutional per Utah, then it is not applied. Period.
Like the governor can veto it or
Exactly.
whatever, yeah.
But with that said, in Biden's speech, he openly threatened state governors and said,
he threatened
any governor not willing to help with this measure, I will use everything in my power to get them out of the way.
I will use my presidential power, the power that I have,
To get them out of the
get him
way.
out of the way. And that's what he ended on.
Isn't that messed up?
What does that mean? Is he going to shoot him?
With a gun. No, he's going to shoot him with the camera.
Yeah, it's like
Maybe he means he's going to come campaign against them. Like he'll come out and like get up to the pulpit and be like, that governor,
And then he'll take a nap.
75 too. Where am I? Am I going over here? Am I going over this way?
Governor of Wisconsin, Massachusetts. That's you know the one.
That sounded more like George W.
We do terrible Biden impressions, don't we?
That's true. I do. But anyway, it was very shocking. And the stuff that came out to me was just I was shocked that a president would say those things.
Yeah, there were a lot of things that it's surprising that a president in a free country would say.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about this is like Biden wants people to get vaccinated, but this action has got to do the reverse, right? Because all the people who are, I mean, I could be wrong, but my guess is that the overwhelming majority of the people who are still not vaccinated has nothing to do with like they don't want to get vaccinated. It's more to do with like I don't want to be told I have to get vaccinated, right?
Yeah.
And so by doing that, isn't that just going to kind of make people kind of dig in and not do it?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people who feel that way. I'm probably more on that boat. Like, the more you push, the more I want to push back.
Yeah.
And it's not even about the vaccine anymore for me. It's the fact that you're telling me, mandating, I want to do it now less than I did before.
Now, it's interesting that you say that because I want to point out a couple things. One, it's probably not just on vaccines that you're that way. Like,
no.
If your wife is like, you have to do this, there's a little bit of and maybe your wife's different, but your boss is like, you have to do this and it will be done by this time, or anybody pushes you that way, it's kind of like, yeah, that's a little off-putting. Like,
yeah.
I want to do it a bit less now, right?
Yeah. Right.
And that's the first thing I want to point out. And the second thing is, why, if it's so effective and so great and wonderful, and it's going to solve this problem, why does it have to be mandated? Why does it have to be pushed so hard and made a requirement for you to live your life in order for people to get it? If it's such a great thing, I don't understand that. And I'm not just speaking for myself. I mean, there's a lot of people out there not getting this vaccine. And I'm a strong believer in they can't all be wrong, right? They can't all be stupid fucking idiots, as some people have put it, or complete imbeciles. It's just not possible. There's so many people out there that don't agree with it. How can all of them be wrong?
They are idiots.
All of them?
If I were going to say from Beagle's standpoint.
I wish Beagle was here.
Yeah, Beagle. Come on over.
I think to answer Phil's question, obviously the people who are not vaccinated yet are just going to push harder, and it's going to make it worse the harder the government pushes. I think what they're trying to do is get to the fence sitters who are like, okay, I'll do it now. I'll get vaccinated. But it's getting to the point to where I don't even know if it's about the vaccine or if it's about helping people or maintaining health or keeping the hospitals, whatever. I think I'm inclined to say it's about like the power and the control that they want.
Yeah, earlier on, you hear a lot of that rhetoric, and my impression was like, well, that's kind of like a conspiracy. It's not like they're trying to control everyone, but they're not helping the case, I don't think. Like, and they give people, if they're saying, oh, no one's getting vaccinated because all these conspiracy theories, but then they do actions like this, and it kind of reinforces that, kind of along the lines of what I'm saying. Like, to contrast, like what you were saying, Jeff, instead of forcing it on people, why not be more open about it? Like, why isn't Moderna and Johnson & Johnson holding press conferences and answering questions to people, like concerns,
Or what happened to like promoting success stories and saying, oh, wow, this family was devastated by COVID. They all got the vaccine and haven't had a single problem since. Or this person, the vaccine saved their lives when they were in the middle of this situation, and promote it in a way that's like, oh, this is a good thing.
Yeah.
But instead, it's like turned into attack the other side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my thing about it that I really don't like is, like Jake said, it doesn't seem like it's really even about health anymore. It's about like dividing the country. It's like, and one of the things that Biden said too in his speech is that this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Basically saying you guys are the problem.
Yeah, and what really doesn't make sense to me is, like, as soon as the vaccine rolled out, cases and deaths just kind of plummeted. They plummeted all the way till like early July, and then they've steadily climbed, but they're not even really half of as bad as they were back in January. Although we have had some days now with 2,000 deaths.
I think, yeah, Utah just
3,000
passed
deaths.
2,000.
Well, I'm saying
Or
nationwide.
not deaths, sorry, cases.
2,000 cases in a day, you're saying? Yeah, I'm saying
Utah,
2,000 deaths
Yeah.
nationwide. Utah's still really low on deaths. I'm also just not seeing the correlation between, like they say, states that aren't as highly vaccinated or who aren't social distancing or who have dropped their measures,
Right.
they have more cases. But California is a shining example of a state who has done the most, I would argue, maybe them in New York, to try and stem this, but seem
Right.
to be having cases just the same.
Right.
Which kind of goes back to how I've felt all along, that kind of doesn't really matter what you do. This is a disease. Disease spreads. We all live and breathe
Right.
and walk around. And it obviously was never serious enough to do an actual shutdown, like we were saying before. Like, it was like, let's shut down everyone who's non-essential, but like 70% or essential is like, that's not really a shutdown. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It's not Ebola that's airborne. It's bad flu that's killed a lot of people, apparently. But
Well, that's what they say.
yeah, but Jake doesn't even think it's killed anybody.
I just have a hard time trusting the numbers based on so many people that I know firsthand who have been like Jeff, your dad. He got tested positive, next day went and got tested negative. He was marked as a COVID case when he didn't have the COVID.
That's right.
And other people nurses who have said, we sent in unused tests and they came back positive.
Yeah.
And so many of these cases, and doctors saying people who are, first off, the government's incentivizing hospitals to mark COVID cases and COVID deaths, financially incentivizing them. Why are we not financially incentivizing people for getting vaccinated if we really want that? I don't think they really want people to get vaccinated. Anyway, tangent. I don't even know where. I don't trust the numbers.
Jake is foaming at the
numbers
mouth right now.
The numbers
He's
out
ready.
there are not accurate.
Well, they've already, real quick, the CDC's already said kind of that, right? They've already come out and said that only like 6% of their reported cases were just COVID. Like, the rest all had these comorbidities that they call them.
Yeah.
You know, they had cancer or pneumonia or whatever.
500 pounds.
And people kind of play that down. But my father is a cancer survivor and a double transplant survivor, I guess you call it.
Mm-hmm.
When he got his transplant, they told him that his immune system would be so shot for the several months after that a cold would kill him. He literally had to like stay in his room.
Right.
We didn't see him. It wasn't anything. That's a real situation. And if those type of people are dying from this and they're counting that, I think that's a terrible dishonesty.
It's fudging the numbers.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I have an exact same experience. My mother passed away when I was young, as you guys knew, but she died of cancer. But the truth is she had pneumonia.
Yeah.
That's what killed her.
Right.
But her immune system was so jacked up, it couldn't fight it off. Her lungs filled with fluid, and she basically died in her sleep. And that was it.
Yeah.
It wasn't because of cancer. It was because her immune system was so shot, she couldn't even fight off a simple virus.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a lot of what happens here. And I know we've gone over this probably too many times, but I was just jazzed up. And, you know, when I just was turning on your street, Phil, I was listening to the radio, and apparently Unified Los Angeles County School District, I can't remember what it is. It's the second largest school district in the nation, though. is mandating vaccines for anybody over 12 years old.
Yeah.
And this is like hours after the speech came out. It's kind of like, I thought to myself, did they all get together right after the speech and decide on this? Or was this part of the plan the whole time?
Right.
Or is this school system set up somewhat like a dictatorship where it's very few or only one person that could make that decision and make it happen? But yeah, any kids in Los Angeles County that are going to a public school are required to get vaccines 12 and older.
Yeah.
And
here's the thing about it. If you listen to the last episode, we had kind of a refresher on September 11th and a post September 11th events that happened after the episode at the end of it. And one of the biggest things that sticks out is the invasion of Iraq. We had a government who told us there are weapons of mass destruction in this country. This dictator is going to gas people and kill people. We have to go in there. We come to find out later that that wasn't true, and that
false.
And probably everyone involved knew that. But very likely in their minds, they thought they were doing a greater good. They thought, we know they're not there, but it's going to be better for the American public if we go in there, we get rid of Saddam. Like, this lie is for a good reason.
Right.
And health officials right now could be thinking the same thing. They're thinking, this virus is killing people. All everyone needs to do is get vaccinated. If we tell everybody all the truth about, A, the disease, who it's actually killing, how it spreads, how deadly it actually is, and B, the vaccine's effectiveness and all that, and who actually needs to get vaccinated, if we come out and be really frank and open about all that, people aren't going to get vaccinated, and that's a bad thing. So we feel justified in kind of tampering down some information, not coming out and being really public about it. And when I say be public, I'm talking like, why aren't they answering critical questions about the vaccines and about the deadliness of the virus? This virus, their plan is to vaccinate everyone, but virtually every other vaccine on the vaccine schedule you look at is for a targeted group of people.
Right.
It's for a certain age group that age group is vulnerable to, A, B, or C disease, and that's what we're doing. Or if you're traveling to a certain country. But this is just like a blanket thing, and the argument is that, well, everyone's going to get COVID, but that's where I'm having the hard time, is they've already said that children are very unlikely to get it or spread it or get sick from it and die from it. It's pretty much as you get older, you get the chances of you getting sick and die go up and up. And again, as we've discussed before, we don't even know if when you're 95, what your chances are. We just have a blanket, This is the percentage. But anyway, I'm blabbing too now. You got me going, so.
I'm ready to blab.
Yeah.
You guys had your chance. Now shut up.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Don't shut up.
Well, Biden in his speech, didn't he referred to the numbers. He said 1 in every 2,000 vaccinated persons dies from COVID every day. Well, that's every day. That means 365 vaccinated people die of COVID in a year, which is what percent is that?
1 in 2,000. That's a hard number to wrap my head around.
Or is it 1 in 5,000 vaccinated?
1 in 5,000 Okay, I see what you're saying.
Out of every 5,000 vaccinated people, 1 dies every day from COVID.
So he's saying, to dumb it down,
7%.
one person dies every day who's vaccinated from COVID out of 150 million. Is that right?
People that die
out of every 5,000.
Okay.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. See,
here's okay. This is a perfect time for me to interject. I was slightly kidding, but I'm actually serious about going on a tangent. Here's the problem, and this is getting it way down to a stupid thing. This was actually potentially going to be the main topic for tonight, but I decided not. But it's funny how it worked its way into this. There's this idea that I have and I operate with, and I really want to get your guys' opinion on this. What is the truth? How do you know that information is true or untrue? How do you know that 5,000 people die or are diagnosed with COVID per day?
Right.
How do you know? Phil, how do you know that happens? It's because somebody told you, right?
Okay.
Phil's typing stuff. What are you doing?
I'm sorry. I got hung up on this. Are you sure that's what he said?
No, he's not.
Because if he's saying 1 in 5,000 die, well, there's 35,000 5,000s in 177 million. Is that right?
This is the greatest podcast ever.
See, that's what. If you
Welcome to Math Hour with Phil.
Sorry to derail it. I got hung up on this number.
What you're saying.
So if he's saying 1 in 5, okay. Caveat. You're saying Biden said a number. So I don't know what he said, but if he said 1 in 5,000 are dying every day who have been vaccinated, there's 177 million people have been vaccinated. That would mean 35,400 people would be dying every day. Am I doing that math right?
No.
I don't think so.
Here's the thing, Phil. You need to shut up because you need to listen to what I'm trying to say.
All right.
Biden could have said anything. And here's my question to you. How do you know it's true? You believe in him, right? You believe what he says is true. If Fauci says something, you believe that it's true. If your friend says something, you believe that it's true. The only actual information that you know is something that you have observed with your own eyeballs and your own understanding, right? In your own life.
Which is actually just a small fraction of what you actually believe.
Exactly. But what I'm getting at is from the second you read an article online, you are putting faith into that article that it is true or untrue. Now, people always get information like that, and then they decide, is this tweet true or is it untrue? If it follows my beliefs, then it's true. If it doesn't follow my beliefs, then it is untrue. But the reality is, you don't know. You can't say that something's true because it rings and resonates with your reality. You can't say that. If I said aliens invaded New Jersey, some people might go, oh, it's about time, makes sense. And other people might be like, you're effing crazy.
Where did you get that information?
But there's someone out there that goes, oh, that's true. I heard about those aliens invading New Jersey. Does that make sense? Kind of what I'm saying?
Southern
I can't do accents like that.
We gotta get those aliens in New Jersey.
He picked me up and shook me like a dog.
So this is the end of my personal rant that you guys got your turn. Now I get mine. This is like a round 3 of terrible rants. But my point of it is that when you now add into this element the internet and instant data and people's opinions from everywhere on the whole planet invading into your life, you have to make a decision if it's true or not. And I think that people falsely make decisions one way or another. And I think that because the truth is they don't observe it. And I'll give you a silly example, but you can spread that out to every single topic. People are murdered every single day. We know that as a fact, right? They are murdered. They are shot with guns every single day in this country. How many people have you ever witnessed getting shot with a gun in your entire life? It's very little or zero. Yeah. Did you ever shoot someone, Phil?
No.
Is this a confession?
No, I didn't.
I just saw you make a face.
I certainly wouldn't say it on a podcast.
Don't bring it up, Phil.
But my point is just simply that it's not that these things don't exist, is that we're trusting other people that they are true.
Yeah.
If you actually walked out in your daily life, you might realize, you know what? It's not a scary environment. People aren't getting murdered all over on my street. You have to look at where things are at, where you are at that time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to get wrapped up in some serious misinformation and jacked up stuff.
That's fair.
Yeah, and people have been going on about freedom. I guess Arnold Schwarzenegger has been catching a lot of flack because he came out and said, like, screw your freedom. You need to help people. It's not your freedom to make people sick, blah, blah, blah.
You need to help people, right?
You need to help them.
Okay.
Okay, get some pizza. Anyway.
With every vaccine, you get a Gold's Gym membership.
You get 3 vaccines. Anyway, like, But I really don't get why people are like not giving some more importance to that. I mean, freedom is the whole point of this country. Like, that's why we got together and decided to kill ourselves and our neighbors, to fight the British, to say we don't want to pay those taxes. So if we were willing to do that over tea, what is it really weird to think that we're not riled up over like being told to or forced to get a vaccine? A vaccine that one of them has been approved by the FDA. There are two that still haven't.
But I'll tell you what, and then this is so. You know what else has been approved by the FDA as fully functional and usable medicine? Medicine is electroshock therapy.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that the FDA is kind of fucked up.
Well, and there's a good argument for saying that the FDA historically has done a lot of terrible things. My point is right now the government is saying, do this, but we also haven't even approved it totally. Like I said, they have approved the one, but people don't have any options. It's like, you know what I mean? It's weird. It's a brand new experiment, and yes, 170 million people have it, but what does that mean? Well, in a year now? The other thing I worry about is they're saying that natural immunity is awesome. They think it's very likely to be lifelong. That's the other thing that really gets me going on this. Like, if they were being open and honest about this, they would come out and say, if you have been infected with coronavirus, you are immune. That is a fact. Isn't it?
Yeah, if you're still alive.
Well, if you listen to doctors, if you get your information from doctors, then yes, it's a fact.
And by the way, that's how it works with virtually every other disease, as I understand. They threw all this stuff out early on, we don't know if you'll be immune forever, and we don't know if you're spreading it even if you have no symptoms. It's like, why would you assume that's a possibility? Why would you assume that? Why not assume that it's not spreading?
Or that it acts just like a virus would.
Right. And the thing that gets me...
That's blasphemy, Jeff.
And the thing that gets me is, you could argue that if they're saying, well, all these measures, everything we've done, it's had some effect. But when you look at states who have done much less and compared to countries like Sweden, who's done much less, and people will argue, well, Sweden has a higher death rate than two of their neighbors. But they also didn't shut anything down. And the death rate wasn't like 1 million more people died. It was like a couple thousand. And yeah, that's terrible to say, a couple thousand people. But what is the cost? What are we doing? Why are we shutting down everything to save a couple thousand people? Let's shut down cigarette factories and save 400 grand people a year.
Yep.
We've never thought of that. We've never thought, let's outlaw alcohol. Well, we did at one time, and that was a disaster.
Phil, but, it's the variants.
Yeah.
It's the alcohol variants that kill people.
That's the argument that they have, is we don't know that if you're immune to coronavirus, it's COVID-19, that you will also be immune to the Delta and
Charlie.
What is the
Gamma.
Latest one? The
DE.
U or
MU.
It's
MU.
Mu variant.
Mu.
Yeah, it's all this assumption on the side of we don't know, so you better get vaccinated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the other issue is there's no clear light at the end of the tunnel. We don't know. Well, you don't know, but you're telling people to get vaccinated.
Right.
As
if you would
know.
say, we know this, A, B, or C, just focus on what you know. Quit telling people what you don't know and focus on what you do know. That's the only valid, that's what a public health official, what a president, what anybody should be doing. It kind of goes right back to this weapons of mass destruction mentality. They were saying they did know, but they were also insinuating we don't know what other factories he has and how many other people he's killing and this and that. And we've just come from this country who was lied to by our leaders, and now we're just supposed to just trust them, and we don't have any hard evidence to do that, I think.
Right. I think I thought of a title of this episode. The Ranting Box.
Corona Rant.
The Corona Rant.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's enough Corona talk just because.
No.
I'm telling you, listen, we are so I am so jacked up after hearing the president's speech because it just jacked me up.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So I wanted to touch on that real quick.
Okay.
I don't think it's much. I think the amount of lawsuits that are going to come out of it are probably going to...
I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
For a president to be able to speak to the people and governors and all this stuff the way that he did, to me is ridiculous. That's the part that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's not the mandates. Let's be honest, that the executive orders that Obama put in place, that Trump put in place, that it's like a normal thing now. Let's do ridiculous executive orders.
Yeah.
And they typically don't really go anywhere, and they survive maybe their term, and then they go away. Or
they just pass the buck.
Yeah,
the next president will write an executive order to erase
day
it.
one. Yeah. I'm not worried about that. What I am worried about is this ballsy, weird divisiveness of the country.
Yeah.
Rather than bringing unity, there is bringing more divisiveness. It's like, anyway, it's just like ramming a wedge between.
The fact that we're in an environment where a president can feel comfortable saying, if a governor gets in our way from stopping COVID, I will use my power to get him out of the way.
Yeah.
Which means I'm going to get up and say, "You're dumb, governor."
I'm sitting in the military.
I mean, what can he do?
Yeah, I don't know.
But the fact that he could say it and be celebrated for it is
it's amazing.
Yeah. And the other thing on the court thing, recently there have been a bunch of cases that have been won by people. One of them, I think, was a professor in California who the school mandated he get a vaccine. He's like, I have natural immunity. I've been tested. I had COVID. And people are winning those cases. Like, there's no argument against it. There's no reason for people who have got COVID to get vaccinated, and particularly to be mandated. Time will tell whether or not people who haven't got COVID and haven't been vaccinated, how that's going to play out.
Yeah, they should do based off these facts that you are saying.
Spewing out of my memory that might be true.
Some doctors are telling us,
Dr. Phil,
it would be appropriate for people to require a antibodies test before getting the vaccine.
Yeah, and the CDC is saying don't do that. They're saying
get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Whoever the heck you are, get vaccinated.
But it specifically says on their website, antibody tests should not be used to decide whether or not you get a vaccine. Right. And that, to me, is insane. That, I'm pro-vaccine. I've always planned, once I have some options and I can gauge things and look at the data, I'll go get the COVID vaccine. This kind of stuff makes me not want to do it just for what you're saying. I'm not going to do it just because.
Yeah.
And
when you're dead, Phil, you won't even care.
Yeah, or when I kill 40 old people because of my negligence.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to go on.
All right.
Because that was only national news. We've got the whole world to address
Oh, there's
now.
World on top of it? And then we go to space?
We have to play, spatial news. Okay. You guys need to vote what you want to hear. Messed up animal story or world news.
I'm going to go with world news this time.
Let's go with world news.
Okay, that's really funny because on my world news
is an animal story.
No matter what,
I don't have world news.
Oh,
so
you were banking on us voting for the animals.
So here's the headline: Goats thirsting for human pee and sweat find new homes. It's not that messed up, but it's hilarious.
Wait, what?
That's going to be the title of this
Goats
episode.
thirsting for human pee and sweat find new homes. These aggressive mountain goats love human pee and sweat so much that they have been relocated from the Olympic State Park. These goats want the minerals that are in your sweat and pee, to the point that they are starting to get aggressive with travelers as they are urinating anywhere near the goats. This is no joke, dude. They're estimating that 400 of these animals will need to be relocated.
Wow.
So basically, you step off the side of the trail in, is it Olympic State Park? Yeah, Olympic State Park.
Where is that, in Montana?
I'm not sure, actually.
No,
I'd have to
it's
look it up.
Park City?
Washington.
Yeah, I think it's in Washington. Olympic State Park. Google it.
Let's do a
Got
Google.
one
Yeah.
in Park City.
Olympic
So, one of the-
State Park. You're welcome, listener. We give you a fact.
You're welcome, Bolt. We're going to fact check this.
So there's an Olympics What in the world? Why can't you find it, Google? Google quit working for us because we spouted all that anti-vaccine propaganda nonsense.
You know, the best thing is visuals on a podcast, and the second is research. That's
Yeah.
always the best.
Listen to us research. All right.
Olympic.
Listen to us typing.
It is in Washington.
Okay, good. So basically what's happening, and actually I did get a little inkling of this when we went up to, on our backpacking trip. I noticed in the documentation it said don't pee on dirt because the animals will go and dig where you peed. They want you to pee on hard objects like rocks or logs or something like
Yeah.
that, right? But these goats apparently are getting aggressive, and if they see somebody peeing, they will literally like start accosting them and attacking them before they're done peeing. And so
Wow.
they're relocating the goats.
Goat yoga.
It seems like a simpler option would be salt blocks. Do you guys know what that is?
Yeah, well, horses.
Yeah, or cows, cattle.
Deer. We're using for
Yeah.
deer.
Yeah, just stick them out there.
But I think
Let's catch all those goats and fly them in helicopters. That won't cost very much.
yeah, and it was like 5 at a time.
Yeah.
Like 5 to 400. Yeah, that's going to cost a lot. We should probably donate some of our salt blocks. Can you make your pee into like a salt block?
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure you could drop like 50 of those out of it, one helicopter ride, and then problem solved.
For a
Come
nickel.
back in a month.
It's crazy. And one pun that I read in this story was, if you stand on the side of the trail to pee, you're in danger. Get it?
You're in danger.
You're in danger.
That was a good one. I wish Jake would have said that.
He's the punniest.
You're in danger.
He sure is. After that Twin Towers joke,
Oh man, I can't believe you put that in.
that was the best.
Anyways, that was my messed up animal story / world news. It was only state of Washington, but I thought it was pretty crazy.
It was crazy.
Pea loving goats.
Yeah.
Trent, that's for you.
There you go, Trent.
Okay, on to the topic of the night.
All right.
You guys don't even know what this is.
It's not coronavirus?
No, apparently it was, but I'm done with that. So I didn't even talk to you guys, but essentially I'm going to interview you guys.
Oh, both of us?
Kind of. So this is what got me thinking about it. So this morning I went to a client's home and I went inside their home and they said, "Oh, can you please take off your shoes?" And so I took the shoes off and that was all normal, right? But then the guy said, sorry, he said, "We just have a different culture." And he was I think the correct word would be Asian American, and he was an Asian dude, right? And I asked him, I said, where is your family from? And he said, "Oh, we're from Korea." And I'm like, "Oh, my friend went to Korea. His name's Jake. Hi, Jake. On a mission.
That's me. Yeah.
South Korea, right?"
안녕. 안녕하세요.
So it just got me thinking. I was like, there's so much that I may be very ignorant about this because I've never lived outside of the United States at all. And I've lived outside of Utah for very short amounts of time, like not years and years, but, months
Days.
and months. Well, further than
On road
vacations.
trips.
But it got me thinking. I'm like, what is it about the Korean culture that they take their shoes off? I'm very interested in that. And then I thought, what does the American Fork podcast have to offer to people? And potentially it is, you guys both spent time on missions, which is multiple years in different places. Phil went to the Philippines and Jake went to South Korea. And so I'm going to ask you guys some questions because, and it's more about the place, not necessarily the mission, right? But like the culture and the things that are happening there. So,
You don't want us to bear our testimonies?
well, you can.
Oh, okay.
Go for it.
In foreign languages.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go for it. That's fine. I'll fall asleep. I'll pull a Biden. But Jake, what is it about the culture there that they want your shoes off?
I think it's large part the Eastern Asian culture. They do it in China and Japan.
India,
I think. In maybe.
Indian clients ask me to take my shoes off.
Yeah, I know so on the mission, we would spend a lot of time hiking up to the Buddhist temples up in the mountains. It's like some of those beautiful experience. Just the hikes are awesome. The hills are wonderful. And the Buddhist temple right in the middle of a green hill is just captivating. And you would go to these Buddhist temples, and there would be Buddhist monks sitting in the temple praying and doing their thing, and they would be barefoot. And you would be expected to take your shoes off before you enter the temple. There was actually a section to put your shoes before you go in. And I think there's some spiritual sacredness with that. I assume it's being more connected to nature. Mm-hmm. But honestly, I don't know. It might just be a cleanliness thing. Your shoes are dirty, take them off.
See, growing up here, if you had to take your shoes off, it was because those people were just super anal, or they just got new carpet or something.
They didn't want you to get the carpet.
It had nothing to do with any belief system. It was just, don't F up my carpet.
Mm-hmm. I think it's more deep than that in Korea.
So.
Yeah, I never understood the don't F up the carpet either, because how much dirt are you really tracking in on your shoe?
Well, if you have muddy shoes, then obviously it's a problem.
But just like day to day, you walk on the sidewalk. I don't know. And I'm sure this is sparking a shoes versus no shoes debate.
I'm sure we'll lose a friend or two over it, but it's fine.
Shoes are actually probably cleaner to be on the carpet than barefoot, because your feet
sweat,
they absorb the dirt. They hold the dirt, but the sole of the shoes, you walk in and
it's like
the dirt comes off.
It's like designed not to hold dirt.
We should
do a science.
We should do a science.
Yeah.
Let's do a science.
Okay. Let's do a science.
And like walk on some paper towels. And,
could we
collect the germs after or whatever?
Yeah. Could we hit a middle ground and maybe just wear Vibram 5-finger shoes? We don't have to take them off, or is that not what it is? We don't know.
Yeah, in the Philippines, we also
don't
took
know
shoes
the
off.
truth on that, Jeff.
You take shoes off in the Philippines too?
If they had a floor.
That's an interesting thing to point out. Is Phil was in like a extremely third world country, fourth world, fifth world is out of this world, and Jake, where you were, was basically developed. I mean, it was people lived in apartments and big complexes and homes, and it was all pretty basic. But
there were some small rundown towns, but those were less common than the well-developed ones. Yeah.
I mean, even we have Magna and Kearns, so
every area needs a Magna.
So okay, Phil, I'll ask you this one first. So, what experiences? What was the main thing or something big that stuck out as far as the culture in the Philippines versus the culture in America?
So it's interesting because the Filipino culture is heavily it's like this weird, or I shouldn't say weird, it's kind of this really interesting fusion between like Asian culture, which is probably more like what Jake experienced, but it also has this like almost like Polynesian islander culture.
Right.
But all of that's heavily influenced by American culture, because we took it from the Japanese back in World War II and have been there ever since. And so it's kind of really bizarre, because when you go there, like the clothes that people wear look like they're like straight out of the 1940s or 50s. Like they're all custom tailored. They all like kind of how the nurses dress is like how you would picture a nurse in the 40s, or like a teacher, all that. So it's like kind of this like almost frozen in time quasi culture. People are all wearing American T-shirts usually. Right. I don't know if that's because, a lot of them are bought from China or a lot are donated, but I would say just the biggest cultural difference, the most stark and the most obvious, like, you notice right away is just the poverty, like in extreme poverty. People live in bamboo huts. They have a concrete house with a tin roof, but it's like day to day, meal to meal, like how am I going to eat in 3 hours type of thing.
How much money, US dollars, a month expenses, like how much money could you spend in a month and be considered wealthy in the Philippines?
So our stipend that we were allowed to spend. So missionaries for the LDS Church, you pay to go on a mission if your family can afford it. And I think that payment at the time was $400. When you're on a mission, your mission president gives you how much money you need to live off of. And I think we got $120 a month, and that was enough to eat out as much as we wanted, ride transportation as many times we needed to, go to all the nightclubs,
Bios.
Watch movies.
Bios.
Everything that we needed to do, and some leisurely extra was no problem for 120. So,
wow.
And the difference is that's 120, and we were still eating generally just like an American would. We were going to a nicer grocery store and buying food. We weren't living like Philippine people.
And you had floors.
We had a floor. We had usually had a flushing toilet, but not always. I had a couple apartments where you had to dump the water in by hand. You had to shower out of a bucket. You had to pump water out of the well in the front yard.
Well, that's interesting. That's my next question is that what was the infrastructure like? Which you're kind of already going into that.
Yeah, so like the bigger cities would have like running water, but it's not chlorinated water. So it's not the locals could drink it, but we couldn't drink it. We had to filter the water.
But why? Because you would get sick?
Oh, yeah. I just don't think they chlorinate it. So it's just they're just pumping it out of a well. They feed it to everybody.
Whatever bacteria is in the process.
Right. And the people there are more used to it, is what we were explained to. Like they can handle it because they've drank it their whole lives. But missionaries from other countries would get extremely
stomach
sick.
Would not.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So electricity we always had electricity in our apartments. And
did that come from a grid or from a generator?
It comes from a grid, and it's like I don't even know how they keep track of it, because it's like you could walk down a neighborhood and look at like a telephone pole, and there's just like a rat's nest of wires coming off of it going over, and then there's like splices in between neighbors where they're like running extension cords and stuff. So I actually didn't even understand how they metered any of that.
Electric bill, right? Did
you guys get an electric bill?
I don't know if we did, actually. I'm not sure. So that's the other thing, is the mission president handled like the utilities, the apartment, all those like
the payments for that,
payments and stuff. That all went directly through the church. So we didn't. I wouldn't know. Bolter might know. He also served in the same place, but he's not here. So.
I know. I wish he was.
Yeah. Thanks, Bolter.
So what about in Korea? What was the infrastructure like there?
Pretty well developed. It was the houses are really, really tight, close together. It wasn't as you would, at least most of the cities, was not as you would imagine, like in an American city being, just because the culture is completely different. The way that they manufacture the buildings, the vast majority of them are concrete. They didn't use wood in most of their construction, at least from what I saw.
Why
was that, you think?
I don't know.
So is it like super humid there?
Yeah,
in Korea,
it's super humid there. Obviously, wood.
That makes
doesn't
sense.
do well in a humid climate.
Yeah, in the Philippines, it was like termite crazy. Like if you built a house, it'd just be eaten. So it could be something like that.
Yeah.
And mold and all that.
But generally speaking, as far as like I was saying, there's high rises, there's regular house, single family homes, maybe less white picket fences. That's kind of a joke, but like it's fairly similar. I mean, the infrastructure also, like, do they have a public transit system and
they
trains
got
and
the buses. A lot of their public transit was kind of like hand-me-downs from other countries like Russia that just pedals through buses and taxis. Well,
Right.
the cars were pretty updated. Hyundai, Kia, Daewoo,
they're made there.
those are all Korean car companies. Samsung actually has a car line in Korea.
What?
It's essentially a Nissan with Samsung.
Oh, okay.
Just kind of like the difference between, Toyota and
Geo.
GMC and Chevy, stuff like that. But they're Samsung cars. I don't know if it's the same. It's probably not Samsung Electric. Samsung is a Korean word. But yeah, they drive on the right side of the road. Like I said, the buses are all pretty old and used.
Right.
But you could get anywhere. You walk out your door, you could hail a taxi right away. And that was the way that we got around. Public transit. We didn't have bikes or walking, obviously.
Was there much like cars and buses or anything like that in the Philippines?
So the big thing in the Philippines, I'm going to show you this picture, and you can Google,
visuals
listener.
are always the best.
Just Google Philippine tricycle. But imagine a 150cc motorcycle that has like a sidecar attached to it, and they pile as many people on that thing as they can. So there's one with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plus the driver. But I think the record I ever rode with was 14. So 14 people on that thing. So they put a couple people on top of that sidecar. There's like 2 people on the motorcycle, 2 inside, and then you're just like hanging all off of the thing. And they must like beef that suspension up because it held all those people, and that thing was like
full throttle the whole time,
going 1 mile an hour. Like
I'm kind of upset now. So because we have 6 people in our house that need to get around in one. We bought another vehicle for that.
Yep.
We could have just put them all into like the
on
Volkswagen.
A tricycle.
Yeah.
We could have just
tiny little motorcycle.
How many could they fit in a Volkswagen Passat or something?
So the other mode. So that's pretty much a taxi. Like it really is. Like that's their version of a taxi. And then their version of probably what a bus would be a Jeep, or they called it a jeepney, which looks just like a World War II era Jeep. It's just like slabs of steel welded together, and they paint them really pretty and stuff. But it's just 2 long benches in the back, and people are just stuffed in there shoulder to shoulder. And then after that, they slide benches down the middle, and you straddle that bench, and people are just like stacked,
straddled one on top of the other.
One on top of the other, like riding a horse, pretty much. Like, and if you thought the tricycle got insane, they would literally fit like dozens of people in this one Jeep. Like it was crazy. And
so clowns go to school in Philippines.
in the Philippines to learn how to squish in tight. But yeah, we rode on top of those things. We rode on top of sugar trucks like that had all the sugar cane stacked like 30 feet high. We'd climb up on top of the sugar cane and hold on for dear life and be ducking under power lines and stuff. Like,
oh my gosh.
Like transportation in the Philippines got wild for sure.
Wow.
So
that's why I always have this idea with you, Phil, that like you have this thing in the back of your mind where you're like, it's never that bad here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like some problem would come up and you're like, it's not a big deal. Because I've ridden on top of a sugarcane vehicle,
dodging
under power lines. If your seatbelt's not working, you're going to be fine. Or whatever it might be.
Well, and just a real quick, the best example of that is until you've proselyted or knocked on doors, I guess you'd say, in a village built over a lake of poop, you don't really understand what problems are. So
and you're not joking about that.
I'm not joking. So
open sewage.
So open sewage flows in the streets, but it collects somewhere, and people still need a space to live, and they just build houses out on stilts on this thing. So imagine a bamboo slat floor that you can see right through the floor, right into the poop, and people live that way. So
nothing more spiritual than teaching a gospel lesson.
That was one of the hardest few places I went because you know me, I'm like weird about smells. Like I'm like my family will tell you like chill out, Dad. I'm like, who was that? Like like I just kind of freak out about it. So I had a hard time there, but really thinking about it, I'm like, these people lived there. That's their life.
Yeah.
So yeah, coming back here, it is hard for me to be like, oh, we have it bad because I think back to those things, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you thought you should live in a shitty neighborhood. See how I did that?
Badoo.
Isn't it so funny to joke about that?
Right?
It is a funny joke.
So hilarious. Here's the next question. Okay, so tell me a story where you or one of your people that you knew totally messed up regarding like local customs. Jake, you want to, you know what I mean? Like there's customs that people have and you show up and it's a super embarrassing situation. Or mildly embarrassing.
The example that I have, I know is probably not going to be the best that I could come up with like later tonight when I'm trying to sleep. But the first one that came to mind was, so their funerals are significantly different than they are in America, which you could imagine all around the world. They're all completely different. It's very almost it's a very solemn, almost like a religious worshiping experience. You've got like literally like a shrine to that person with photos and artifacts and things that represent them sitting there, and you literally go and like, I don't know if you're supposed to pray to the person, but you are doing like a prayer ritual type thing while you're there. And I just remember feeling, it just felt so weird. I wouldn't say that I messed up anything, but I had to be coached kind of what to do. And it felt, I was just really embarrassed because I had no idea what was going on. It was just a really weird, it was more of a cultural shock experience than messing up the culture.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I'll think of something better while Phil's talking.
But I can imagine like you step in and it's like this shrine. I don't know. I can see where you're coming from.
Where's the salad and the potatoes? I don't know.
Yeah, we were kind of conscious early on to eat anything we were given, like
my gosh.
Just because it is like it was explained to us coming in that like when people feed you, it's like they just went and panhandled the whole neighborhood to get enough money to do that. Like if you could imagine asking all your neighbors, hey, can I borrow $5 so that I can feed these people? Like, so whatever it was, we ate it. So that was one thing. That's not a way that we messed up, but there were a lot of things we were conscious of. But one way, and I don't know if this is an actual story or like a missionary legend, but one of the most royal ways somebody messed up is so if you're unfamiliar with the LDS Church, the whole thing is this guy Joseph Smith in 1820, one of those years, pray.
1820.
I should know this because I said it a billion times.
He was 14.
He was 14. He prayed. He wanted to know what church to go to, and God and Jesus visit him, and he sees him, and that is the message that pretty much when a missionary knocks on your door, you're going to hear that story day one. That's what's going to happen. Well, it turns out that the word in the Philippines for grass and pubic hair are so close. They're just like really close. And one newer missionary said, and I saw God and Christ coming out of heaven, and the light came down as I was kneeling in the
pubic hair. Wow.
So, and you can imagine he got like a kind of a jolt or a shock from the people listening.
From God?
Yeah, but I think they realized from God. I think they realized pretty quickly, that that's what was happening.
He probably wasn't.
Well, I'm sure you've got pretty thick accents for being newbies out there.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. They called us slang was the word for it. So slang meant that you were speaking the language, but it wasn't right. Like
right.
something was off about it. And
that's funny.
And that's something we really worked hard at, like really hard to sound just like they did. And toward the ends of our missions, most
You got pretty
missionaries.
good.
Well, yeah, I would say so.
I'd hope.
So, yeah.
2 years. So what's the Filipino? I mean, I know there's these dialects, but what is the word for pubic hair?
So I was trying to remember that. I think it's sagbot, and the word for grass is sagbot.
Oh,
Say-
of course.
Right? So they're exactly
Or the
same.
reverse. I wish Bolter was here to correct me, and I might be getting that wrong, but they really are like, it's just that tiny inflection.
So one's
Yeah.
like emphasis on the ag.
Yeah, a
there's
little bit.
the-
Yeah, is there a lot of words like that it's? I think both languages are more like that than English is, where it's a lot of inflection. Like you inflect a certain way and it can change the word. Is that true for both languages?
Not so much for Korean. Korean's very phonetic. They have an actual alphabet, and you change the way some things sound based on the following characters, but for the most part, there's not a lot of, not like there is with Chinese, where your voice goes up on a certain emphasis or down on a certain, it completely changes the meaning of the word. Not as much in Korean.
Oh, okay. But in Filipino, or the dialect of Filipino, I can't remember what. There's like a million dialects, right?
Yeah, so in my mission, we spoke, I think, 5 different dialects. So depending on which area you were transferred to, I spoke 3 of those mainly, and a 4th on occasion. But and then one of them, I would say I was fairly fluent in.
Yeah. Okay, so again, this has to do more with the country than just like the missionary work and all those things, and like the culture and the things that the people do there and the infrastructure and all that kind of stuff. Just a different country, right? So tell me one thing that you never got used to in like the 2 years that you were there, was just like never felt normal. That's something. Jake's chuckling already.
First one is the throw up in the streets.
What?
So drinking at night at the bar was an incredibly common thing. It's very, very normal for the father of the household to be gone at work all day, and then go to the bar and drink, and then come home drunk and throw up afterwards. So we had one of our church buildings in the mission area that I was serving was like next door to a bar. And so walking to the church, there was always puke smell all the time.
Wow.
In the streets, you could smell it all the time. Their sewage system wasn't, depending on the city, it wasn't always the best. And so you could, it was underground, and, they had the sewer under there, but you could smell it coming up from the streets. The smell, probably. Yeah. Something I couldn't.
Well, that's
used to.
It's interesting because you guys don't drink alcohol, and I do. And, I would say here, throwing up is not a cool thing. Like, if you throw up, it's like party foul. You messed up. You don't know your limitations.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. You ruined the night. Whatever, right? That's kind of the connotation that has. But it sounds like over there, it's kind of like drink, normal. And as soon as you throw up, it's time to go home.
Yeah. It's more normal, I think, there.
Yeah. Which reminds me of my favorite joke. Maybe I'll tell at the end of the podcast.
That's the perfect time for jokes.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Apparently.
What about you, Phil? Was there anything that you just did not get used to? Imagine the obvious one would be the poo lake. That's probably one you didn't get used to.
Yeah, I would say, though, when I think back on it, there would be days where I'd be like, I'm tired of this. But I think the more I tried to envelop in the culture and be like people so that I could actually relate to them and they would actually listen to me, I feel like things like that I didn't really notice toward the end. Like I would just, people had a real crappy house falling apart, poop in the front or whatever, and that really did, I kind of internalized that and it became normal. What I didn't get used to was the heat. Just was the worst. So Bolter was saying it never gets above 90, but it also doesn't get below 86. It's always hot.
Or below 70% humidity.
Yeah, it's crazy humid. You are sweating day and night. And when we would sleep, we'd put a fan between our legs, just blowing on our face. and it's very common for power to go out. And when it did, it was hell. It was just like you woke up, you were up the rest of the night, and then you had to get up and read your scriptures and get ready for the day and like
Exercise in the sweat.
Exercise. It was so crazy hot, punishingly hot.
It's not necessarily just the heat; it's that it never cools down, and it's always humid. Is that right?
Yeah. So just to point out a point of that. I got the entire 2 years I was there, I got goosebumps one time. And that was during a typhoon, riding on the back of one of those Jeeps I was talking about, going 60 miles an hour. So blowing wind and rain during a typhoon, bringing in whatever cold front, and holding on top of that. And it was like, wow, it feels like it might be like 65 right now. Like that was as cool as it ever got. Now, contrast that, that it really is, because of that, it's paradise. It is breathtakingly beautiful in the mountains,
the vegetation,
on the beaches. Yeah. You can just pick a coconut up off the ground. They're everywhere, and cut it open and eat it. Well, or find someone with a machete to cut it open. But, pineapples, mangoes, like the best fruit you've ever had in your life. So
it's interesting how such beauty can come from such a crappy place too.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to put it that way, but that's pretty honest. But
a poopy place.
Such a poopy place.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting to me. The pineapple's so the best, and the mango's so beautiful, and all that stuff because of the environment. But then also the environment with the people that live there is just so drastically different. Anyways, I just find that interesting.
It's kind of a spin on what you said. It's so interesting that such disgusting poverty can come out of a place like that.
Right.
It's a place that's so rich in natural resources. And I could go on all day about it, but there's a lot of corruption there going on, and a huge, income gap, and that's why a lot of that happens.
Right.
But a quick thing to point out is people in the Philippines who live they called it bukid, like out in the mountains, lived what I feel like were beautiful lives. Their houses were made out of bamboo, but they were extremely well made and well kept. They swept the dirt around the place. It was just like paradise. People were so happy at those places, they didn't have a care in the world. They kept everything clean. It was just a real stark difference to the cities.
Wow.
So,
that's interesting. So the suburbs there were pretty nice.
Or what I would call rural, I guess. Is the better word. Yeah.
Okay.
Their suburbs were the worst parts, I would say. They're like cities were concrete, tolerable. Then it was poop lakes.
Terrible.
And then it was I want to retire there,
right.
Up in that mountain.
But the people that live further away have it's not as easy to get income out there. That's why a lot of people live in the cities and near the cities, right?
Yeah, they actually lived off the land pretty much. They grew coconuts or corn or whatever it was, and then they would bring it down into town, often carrying it on their backs and sell it if they needed some other supplies or things. But it was like our version of a mountain man, I guess you'd say, or someone who kind of lives off grid.
That's cool.
So,
yeah. All right. So next question. I've got questions coming out the wazoo. Tell me something that you miss about the country that you just can't get in the United States.
Oh, where do I start?
Is there a lot?
Phil, you start. I'll think of a good one.
I got
a good one out of
I've
my
got a bunch.
Big list.
I mean, the most obvious is the fruit, like I just told you. I'm telling you, listeners, you've never tasted pineapple. You've never tasted a mango. It is unbelievable.
What about the one listener we actually have in Hawaii?
Oh yeah, maybe they have. So I had mango and pineapple in Mexico. It was better than it was in the U.S., but it didn't compare to the Philippines. I feel like the rumor there was an island called Guimaras that was in our mission, And that island was like the mango island. And there were armed guards there checking you as you left to make sure you weren't taking any mango off with you, because they didn't want you to go plant and grow your own grove or whatever. Because those are like, I'm not sure about this, but I think when you go to Costco and get a bag of Philippine brand mangoes, dried mangoes, it's from that island. So or the Philippines in general, obviously. But
Right.
yeah, they're crazy good. So I miss that for sure. I miss being able to go like rent a whole resort, like a whole beach with a volleyball net and a couple islands with like cabins and stuff for like $15 a day for a day activity for the missionaries. That was cool.
You can do that on your P-Day.
Just living like a king on an American budget was fun, but also really sad. You're like, wow, I can live like a king so easily. Instead of me eating at this hamburger restaurant today, I could feed 5 families, but...
Right. Instead of the dollar menu, I could supplement their entire month's income.
Yeah.
That's crazy. What about you, Jake?
One thing I really loved about it was the technological advancements that seemed to be above and beyond what we have in the United States. But it's not necessarily something I really missed. First thing that came to mind was the food. Like I absolutely fell in love with kimchi, which I hated so much at the beginning.
When you moved there?
When I first got there, first time I had kimchi, I was like, well, I have to eat this every single day, 3 times a day.
What is kimchi? Sorry for being so ignorant. But...
Kimchi's the most popular type of kimchi is essentially fermented cabbage. But they've got hundreds of types of kimchi. It's essentially a side dish that has some sort of sauce or seasoning that you eat alongside of everything else.
Have you had any here? That's good?
Oh, yeah. So there's a Korean market, or it's an Asian market on State Street in Orem. It's probably 200 north Orem, and they have everything. You walk in, you're like, oh, this is Korea. You can smell it. Looks like a Korean shop. The lady in there speaks Korean, probably no English at all.
That's awesome.
All of the grocery store, they'll have like a little corner with some American stuff.
With the cup of noodles.
Yeah, right. Some ramen. It's all 100% authentic. I get my kimchi from there. And it's delicious.
I need to eat kimchi with you, I think, because I've never had it ever.
Really?
Is it like sauerkraut? I know that's so ignorant to say, but
same
conceptually.
Concept. Yeah.
Okay.
Same exact concept as sauerkraut.
Very different seasonings, I'm guessing.
Completely different flavor.
Okay.
But saying kimchi, like what does kimchi taste like? That's like saying, what does pizza taste like? Right.
Depends on what's in it.
Yeah.
It depends on what's there. Makes sense.
But the most popular is the cabbage kimchi. But did you not go to the Korean all-you-can-eat Korean place in Murray with us?
I don't think I was invited.
Oh, because you would have brought up the fact that it is in the same building as where Hooters used to be.
Oh.
I think we were mad at you at that time.
Probably.
Yeah.
I think you guys were texting me when I was on vacation or something.
But that was good. I've taken Phil to a Korean restaurant in Provo, Samhak, I think it was the name of the place. And you liked it, I think.
I do. I since that I've went to several places in Vegas too that I like. I like the style of cooking in front of you. Like you put the stuff on yourself.
Yeah, you got a lot of restaurants will have a burner right in front of you, and you cook. They give you raw meat, and you put it on, and you cook it yourself. You got lettuce to wrap it in, and gochujang, which is pepper paste, and
seems like a good business model when everyone's shorthanded right now. Maybe JCW should move to that business model.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's the bacon and hamburgers.
Right. Cook it all
and
yourself.
We got a hot plate on your table.
Here's your own deep fryer. Be careful.
Careful. Make sure and immaculate it when you're done.
Immaculating.
It might be a good idea. We'll bring it up.
Immaculate it.
Okay, I got one last question for you before we end this silly podcast. What was your favorite mandated vaccine when you went on your mission?
I would say, I think it was yellow fever. And the reason I say that, I don't know, I'd have to look up if that's actually when I got. But I remember a lot visiting a lot of people while they had yellow fever and watching them convulse and shake and sweat. And I was really grateful for vaccines, which is why to this day, I'm all for that vaccine in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Jake, same question for you. What was your favorite mandated vaccine?
I don't know. Typhoid?
I heard that's a good one.
I don't remember.
The vaccine's a good one, not typhoid fever.
Right.
It's not good.
I assume that's.
But we were mandated vaccines, if that's the point.
Yeah, there were.
Oh, I know you were.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
I just can't remember. Typhoid came to mind. I know you had to get polio and shingles vaccines.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a bunch. There were like 4 or 5 that I had to go to the health department for. Like I couldn't ask the doctor for it. It was a countywide thing.
Yep.
Because you were traveling outside the country, but that was a good time.
Okay, well, I'm glad that I got that opinion out of you guys.
Now we're gonna get vaccinated.
I just was curious.
Oh.
I'm not as familiar with mandated vaccines, but I knew you guys had some experience.
Malaria, that's a good one.
That was a good one too?
That's a good one.
So, can I say one more thing?
Is it about vaccines?
No.
Thank God. Go for it.
Because you asked earlier something I missed, and I actually feel really bad for not saying that I actually really do miss the people and the culture over there. Like people, and just to point out a stark difference, like people were so poor, but so open and giving. Like they didn't really have like go knock on each other's doors. Their doors were open, and neighbors just kind of freely walked in and out of their whole neighborhood.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah, literally and figuratively. It's like everybody's together. If you were short on money for some rice, you went to your neighbor without question. They gave you some rice. You went to the other neighbor without question. Everyone's so poor, but so willing to just be like, of course, here you go. And I miss that. I miss like that unity and that
camaraderie
and teamwork and teamship and all that. Anyway,
I think it goes without saying. I don't know any missionary who, actually worked and served on their mission like they are supposed to, who does not come back and say, I fell in love with the people first and foremost. Because Phil said it, I have to say it too.
Yeah,
but I could tell you were feeling like crap.
The people were there. There's no such thing as like a social bubble in Korea.
Yeah,
like it's completely normal to hold hands with another dude at church, or have them like rubbing their hands on your arm to feel the hair, because they don't, body hair is a lot more American than East Asian. They were they're very open about their fascination with you as an American and very friendly, super nice. I love the people a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I want to point out that I didn't bring that up as some kind of like, oh, I better do my churchy goodness now and blah, blah, blah. Like we were sent over there for whatever your beliefs are, we were sent over there to serve people in our belief. And that's really what we did. Like we wanted, in general, like we dug holes for people so that they had bathrooms or wells. Like we helped people fix their houses after storms. We were really involved with their lives, and it was just like being like family with people. And people would invite you over to eat and feed you and just love you. Like to feel that love from people that were just like strangers. That I really do miss that.
That's awesome. And thank you guys so much for letting me surprise interview you about living overseas.
You probably got more than, probably didn't realize we could talk about missions all day.
No, I love it. I really actually do, because the furthest I've been away is, like LA, South Carolina, and Mexico. So, and maybe Northern Idaho. Like that's my range. So South Korea is a little out of my wheelhouse. Philippines, little off.
Yeah.
But so I love hearing the stories, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. I've heard a lot of the missionary stories, but I was very fascinated today about the actual countries and the infrastructure and the nuts and bolts of those places. And hopefully some of the listeners found that interesting as well, because I bet you a lot of them haven't lived in the Philippines for a couple years. Maybe Korea, but I just don't think so.
Probably not.
All right. Well, this has been the American Fork Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And you can find me at my house or on the social medias. And you can find all of us on the social medias or at our houses.